Yo, yeah. What up, Zero Cool?
What up, man?
What up, RLV Tech USA?
What's up, big YouTuber?
Man, you're gonna start with that big YouTuber stuff, man.
Coming to you live on Cox Fiber from Las Vegas.
Aw, damn, you on them cocks, homie?
I'm on the Cox.
Aw, dang.
Look out.
Is it working?
Yeah,
It barely works.
it's working great. Shut up, you cool.
I think, dude, I think Ricky's one of the lucky few, man, because like it's not the move, bro. Usually,
It's actually working pretty good. I'm pretty impressed. My ping is 8 right now. It's impressive.
yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Atypical, let me tell you, atypical.
Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. Watch this. Here we go.
What up, B?
What's up, B?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Yo, we out here doing the pod, man. December 10th, 2023. Where did the year go, sir? Where did it go?
Fast. Fast like T-Mobile.
Mhm.
Big 5G.
Hey. Nobody messes with the 5G goat. All right. Anyways, I do want to say hello to some of the peeps in the live chat, my members and patrons who support me. Salute to you. Ricky is in the live chat and he's on the panel. He's got double duty. Shout out to MS. Blind G Tech is in the house. Matt Bryan is here. Additionally, Rich Z is in the house. That's right. And dude, so what the hell, man? Let me get this music off. It's distracting me. All right. So there's like 3 things I want to discuss tonight. There is one thing that B wanted to discuss, so we'll get to that for sure. I don't know if Moose is going to make it. He was supposed to be here. There was something that he wanted to discuss. And of course, for the guys on the panel, if there's anything else that we don't touch on that's been on your mind or you want to share something, you know, towards like, you know, after the first part of the live stream, we can get to those things too. All right. So I like to give you guys a roadmap of what's coming. And, you know, I always put something on the screen so everybody knows what we're discussing when they jump in, because everybody comes in and, man, what are they talking about, man? What did I miss? You know, because they don't want to start over. They just want to come in and ask what they missed. So we're going to put the damn thing on the damn screen for you so you guys know what we're talking about. All right. Story number 1. All right. For those of you that know who Elliott is, it's Elliott Management. This is an investing firm, a very large, powerful, wealthy collection of super investors, I guess. I don't know. How do we refer to them? But they're powerful. They were the actual management company that kind of dismantled the old AT&T, like the Randall Stevenson AT&T. They were critical of the whole Warner Media, you know, debacle and all that debt that they accrued. And like, they went for Stinky's head and they said, look, what are you going to do about all this? And they threatened to take their money and go. And they ended up basically getting AT&T to change everything, right? Focusing on fiber, focusing on wireless, getting back on track, trying to pay down debt and all those things. And then they left anyways. They ended up taking their money and going anyway. But like, they're a very disruptive, activist type, you know, investment firm, holdings company. So they're calling for Crown leadership to be gone. And actually, the updated version of this, the CEO of Crown actually retired on this news, dude. So, and anyways, I mentioned all this and I felt it was important to discuss that first. Crown Castle is a major fiber owner, fiber builder, small cell builder for Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. So my concern is if they end up pivoting away from fiber ownership and C-RAN building, like what's the future look like for the small cell and the C-RAN situation? Does that mean Verizon's going to have to build all their stuff by themselves. Does that mean they're going to have to rely on MCI fiber? What happens to AT&T's small cell plan? Does T-Mobile have to pivot? Like, I've got big concerns because, in my opinion, once these macro cells are upgraded and most of the new ones are built, it's going to be a heavy emphasis on CRAN, and Crown Castle is a big part of that. Are my concerns legitimate, or am I overthinking this? Let me start with you, Zero Cool. Your take on the situation.
Yeah, so like Elliott Management is like the hitman, or like the loan shark of wireless. They're like a mafia group. Um, they are very powerful. And just the CEO's retirement just speaks evidence of that. I personally, so here's the thing about Crown Castle. Yes, they have a lot of small cell development, but they also have a lot of macros as well. Probably about half as much as American Tower. Me personally, yes, they're calling for new leadership. I kind of would like to see maybe American Tower and Crown Castle merged together. I think that would be nice. The reason why is because I think that they can definitely um, can consolidate cost of ownership, as well as bring new carriers and existing carrier upgrades to the towers. If you're a huge tower company, the two, especially the big two, I think they'll be somewhat, I guess, maybe beneficial to take other tower companies um, as well. So. Um, I, Elliot can. Well, yeah, they call for new leadership. They got it. As far as the future goes for Crown Castle, maybe a merger, maybe a small merger, maybe a big merger. I don't know. I think we're not done yet with Crown Castle. I think they're going to invest more in more macros, especially on the T-Mobile side, because they want to build more macros. I think this is depending on what kind of new leadership they get in there. I think it's going to be beneficial for them. Hopefully, they'll get somebody who listens to Elliot. Like I said, they're very persuasive. You don't want to be in the bad end of Elliot, because
Agreed. Yeah.
That's where all your investors are.
It seems like they come for your head. You know what I mean? Like
they really do. Yeah, the CEO is probably drowning in Lake Mead somewhere or something. I don't know. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Crown Castle. I have worked at many Crown Castle sites versus I've also worked at many American Tower sites. I can tell you, based off an engineering perspective, Crown Castle is not as, yes, they're good for small cells, but for macro sites, they're not as friendly as what American Tower is. So just throwing that out there. But yeah, that's my take on it.
All right, let me get Ricky in here. Ricky, I spoke very intimately of CRAN and small cells. I think that is the next big frontier when it comes to leveling up networks, splitting cells, getting what I would call, higher order MIMO gear onto small cells. I think that's the next frontier for the carriers. Crown Castle will be a big player in this. Do you have concerns about that type of networking? Should Crown Castle kind of peel back a little bit?
Well, I think small cells is not going to be the future. Only small cells in like millimeter wave type tech filling in the gaps. But as far as the old LTE stuff and the fake 5G stuff, I think that's going to go away. If the FCC can just give us some more spectrum, it would be great. And then the full duplex massive MIMO that Qualcomm's engineering right now, when that stuff hits the market, that's all you're going to need on the macros. If they upgrade all the macros to that new stuff, then problem solved. But I think too much small cell is going to cause more interference without using the SRS and the uplink booster to mitigate that interference. There's just too many phones out there, and they're all listening, and the towers can hear all those phones at the same time. It's causing a huge problem. So, and I think that's why T-Mobile was having a little problem, because they're densifying a little too much, reusing the same frequencies over, and they're not even thinking about using SRS or uplink booster. So I think the future is going to be this full duplex massive MIMO coming out. and GigaMIMO for millimeter wave. I think that's going to be the big frontier. That's what I think.
All right, let me get B in here as he just kind of stepped back in. B, I was saying that I had concerns about Crown Castle, the whole CRAN commitment, especially when I think about relationships with the Verizon, which are very deep. You know, when you think about how they've casted the net for small cell deployment, and to a lesser extent AT&T and T-Mobile, but the future, which I think is the small cell, you know, in terms of splitting cells and getting, you know, antennas closer to equipment. What's your take on all this developing with, you know, Elliott Management becoming very active, calling for changes at Crown?
Well, I'll preface, my belief or my perspective, my stance by saying I'm not really sure what Elliot's stance is. I'll have to go in and kind of research this article and
They
see
want them.
exactly what
They want
they're.
them to stop and discontinue the small cell build and the
Okay,
fiber build. Yeah,
okay, understood. So I disagree with Elliot. I think they're wrong there. I think that people have to kind of understand where wireless networking technology is going. So, in order for the technology to reach the type of speeds that people are asking for, the type of capacity that people are asking for, it's necessary for the RF to get closer to the end user, not further away. The only way to
correct.
do that in a way that's safe is via small cells, via in building solutions, things of that nature. So small cells aren't going anywhere, and I think Elliott is wasting their time and resources going after Crown Castle in this way. I think Crown Castle is going to be just fine. I think they may have over anticipated the 5G build. I think uh, I think that leadership probably got that wrong. They probably felt like, hey, of course, obviously they felt like there was going to
You
be
think
more
they thought
building
a
and everything
boom was
like that.
coming, right?
Say again.
They probably thought a bigger boom was coming for it.
Well, not just a bigger boom, but a longer boom. I don't think they anticipated that the carriers, particularly Verizon, would be finished with their macro build as far as getting to 200 million pops as quick as they did. And I don't think anybody anticipated that. I mean, except for me, I called it. But you know, with the exception of me and a few other people, uh, I don't think they thought that it would be over this quickly as far as reaching that 200 million pop standpoint. And then also, I'm not sure that they um, believed that capex will be going down this quickly across all of the carriers. So they kind of got that wrong. But that doesn't mean that small cell growth and deployment is going to stop. There are good companies out there that still understand where the technology is going, especially with respect to 5G Advanced and 6G. And because of that, I think it's premature to give up, quote unquote, to give up on small cell technology, seeing as how that's the safest and most efficient way to get closer to the end user to deliver the speeds that the end user is asking for. So that's where I stand.
All right, EM, let me get you in here, buddy. Kind of understand the situation here. You got Crown who's trying to run a business. Their business is fiber ownership and building. Their business is small cell deployments and cell site access. And Elliot's basically saying, we don't like that model. We don't like the way things are going, the ROI. We think this is fruitless, right? So they're basically telling Crown what you need to do, right? They're saying, stop this, discontinue this, streamline your business. You know, they want them spending less money, you know. So and then they probably want a share buybacks program, right, to add value to the investor. I can't see it any other way. What's going to make Elliott Management happy other than investor friendly practices, which in my opinion, a company like Elliott Management, whatever is good for them is bad for the companies they invest in my personal opinion. And I've got concerns because I think the small cell is the answer. I think fiber is the answer for the future. What's your take on all this?
Oops, sorry, I was muted. So this article is specifically addressing the fiber strategy from Crown Castle, and
Mhm.
I do think that Elliot's concerns are warranted for the company. Because you got to remember, AT&T is planning on building fiber to their cell sites internally. Verizon's doing it internally. Those are two big customers that basically said, we don't want your fiber, we want our own fiber. So why would you keep spending billions of dollars on putting fiber in the ground if you have potentially one client to lease it to? That'd be T-Mobile. Like, And fiber is very capital intensive, and for there to potentially be no ROI because you're not deploying a network yourself, like I to be honest with you, I agree with this article. The push is away from leasing and big contracts with third parties to bringing it in-house. So they'll probably they'll build small cells, they'll maintain them for the carriers, but a turn away from the fiber seems like a smart move to me, to
Yeah,
be
but
honest.
their fiber is what's feeding these small cells.
But a lot of carriers are overbuilding it. That's the thing.
Yeah, but you're basically saying to peel back fiber. They're running fiber to the small cells. So if they're building small cells, they're running fiber. These two things go hand in hand, is my
Not
point.
necessarily, though. That's not how the industry works. AT&T could go up to Crown and say, "Hey, we want you to build small cells, and we
And
just
use
want
our
you to,
fiber?
and then we'll bring the fiber to the pole."
Okay, so I haven't seen that.
And that's very common.
All
Trust
right,
me.
but I'm just saying I haven't seen it from the Crown that I've seen here in Cleveland. It's Crown's fiber. And Crown builds the Verizon small cells, but I mean it's still it's Verizon's site, but Crown built it, right? So like I've seen a bunch of different things here. So you're right. I have seen some different scenarios.
And as both AT&T and Verizon look to reduce like leasing costs, the big thing that they're going to look at is how much are we paying Crown Castle for this fiber? How much would it cost us to build our own fiber to it and cut out that lease? Like, I think that they're making the right call here. To be honest with you, they can
So I
keep
think
building small cells, build macros, but I don't know.
so. Ian makes a really solid point. And I don't think that it should go uh, unrecognized. But the reason why I slightly disagree is because all of the small cells that Verizon and AT&T will probably be transmitting on may or may not be owned by Verizon or AT&T. So if Crown Castle plans to lease these small cells to these other carriers, then it makes sense to continue to build the small cells with the fiber. If they're just building fiber circuits that aren't connected to their own small cells, then I completely agree with Elliot that that's the stance that they're taking. But if they're building them to their own small cells to be able to make available to lease, then they'll have people that they can talk to. It's not just Verizon and AT&T, although they are their largest customers. They can still talk to, for example, a T-Mobile. They can still talk to Big Cable, who's still trying to, you know, do the whole CBRS thing or whatever the case may be. There are still players out there that they can lease that infrastructure to if necessary. So again, I haven't read the article myself, so I don't know everything. But just based on what I've heard here, it makes sense for them to continue to deploy because we know the small cells are going to be extremely important for 5G advanced and also for 6G. And for anybody to kind of discount that, specifically Elliot, they just don't know the industry well enough to really even speak on it to this length, in my opinion, with all due respect.
I I think, and that's a fair point, B. But when you look at the numbers that are listed in this article, it's saying that Crown has spent $19 billion on its fiber strategy and is only yielding a 6% return on that investment. Like that's a lot of money to be thrown around.
Yeah,
Over how long? I mean, what's the period of that 19 billion is over how much time?
I mean, it's probably 10 years, but still a 6% return's
It
trash,
says
bro.
this
right.
strategy was started in 2016.
That's right.
So
Yeah. So
so
basically, how it worked is Crown Castle. See, Verizon will say, "Okay, I want 300, small cells." Crown Castle will, permanently design those fiber strands and small cells for deployment. That's usually how it works. So do it in bulk, about 100 to 300 to 500 at a time. And usually that's why, this is why Elliott Management is pissed because they're just not getting the gains from it, and the one of the big issues is that AT&T and Verizon as well, but mostly AT&T, they're doing their own C-RAN build and kind of eating into as you say into Crown Castle's profit margins. They're just cutting them out, so to speak. Um, so no longer do you have to really rely on a third party such as Crown Castle to do the fiber because as for AT&T, that's all they're doing. It's just doing CRAN with their own fiber. Think of Crown Castle as like kind of the used to be, or they used to happen. They used to do all these small cells and stuff like that, and just run the fiber strands along the poles. Now companies are kind of just taking into matters in their own hands, and this is why Elliot's not happy with them. Personally, I just think I think Crown Castle is better off in the acquisition, maybe by American Tower, to survive, because I don't think they're going to get. I don't, even with the new CEO, I just don't think they're going to tread water for much longer.
I mean, I hope that doesn't happen. The last thing we need is less tower owners. We probably could use another one, to be honest. But to that point, return on investment and return on invested capital, all that kind of thing is very, very important. But this is telecom. So Elliot asking for more than a 6% return is like asking for a wall to move 6 feet. It's a wall. It's designed to stay where it was built. So it is very challenging to ask this industry to do, a whole lot more than that. I mean, who in the industry is doing 15%, for example?
Yeah, but my point was is that there's initiatives from the other telecom companies to actively, overbuild or build their own fiber. So there's not even a potential customer at this point. Like, if I'm
That's exactly
providing you a
what's happening.
service that if I'm providing you a service that you're just going to do yourself, then you're no longer my customer, and I no longer make any money from you. So what's the point of me continuing to offer that service?
That's true, and I agree. But there's a huge MNO that owns no fiber that they still can have business with, or they still can do business with. There are big cable companies that also are trying to build small cell infrastructure in urban and suburban areas that they can still do business with. And it's not like Verizon and AT&T have publicly come out and said, "Hey, we're not going to use any of the small cells that are owned by Crown Castle anymore." Now they have said that they, of course, plan on using their own fiber and all that kind of thing, but it's still really expensive to build small cells. In some instances, it's more cost effective, even with your own fiber, to go out and lease someone else's small cell and put your radios up, because you still got to think about permits. You still got to think about the cost of the actual small cell and maintenance of that infrastructure. So it, I hear what you're saying, Ian, and I don't think you're wrong. I think you make valid points, but I think Elliot is being a little bit heavy handed here. And again, we're talking about money guys, not people who really understand telco. To my understanding, of what I understand Elliot to be is it's a financial investment company, correct?
Yeah.
I believe
Okay,
so. Yeah.
so money guys, cool. Money guys aren't telco guys, so they have their place, and I respect their position. They're trying to look out for their customer, but it still makes sense to me for Crown to continue to build, because Verizon and AT&T aren't the only ones who are interested in small cells. Again, Big Cable and T-Mobile, I'm sure, are interested in small cells enough for them to still be able to get some return on their investment, as long as they're building those fiber circuits to their own small cells. If they're building it elsewhere, then okay, that makes sense to to cut back on that if that's what's something that they're still doing. But if it's to their own small cells, I think it makes sense. That's their business. So if they're not building that, what else are they doing? Are you asking them to go out of business? It doesn't make sense to me. What do you want them to do?
You make a point, but you gotta the thing that they don't offer like private dark fiber. Like there's very little potential customer. Your customer pool is so small. Like I could say the best thing I guess we could say is that they should be more surgical with where they're spending their money, because the industry is we're kind of hitting a turning point with densification, and they need to be a little bit more careful, in my opinion. But
I think that I agree with 100%, because and Sneed and I have spoken to this as well. Return on investment is number one on every telco company's mind right now, as far as leadership is concerned. In my opinion, everybody's asking the same question: how much better do we want to make these networks, and how much is the customer going to be willing to pay for that? That's a question that's always on all these guys' minds, because return on investment is getting lesser and lesser. The margins are getting tighter, and the return on investment for all these gigabit speeds aren't where a lot of these telco companies, it seemed like they envisioned it to be. Customers aren't willing to pay for all this extra capacity. They're not. Upgrades are slow. slower probably than anticipated. As far as growth is concerned, there's only so many people to sell phones to at this point. People have multiple phones, they have tablets. There's less and less growth to compete for. So the name of the game now is keep your customers, keep them happy, keep them, you know, in your ecosystem, and try to see if you can grow your relationship, deepen the relationship with them, as opposed to going out here and getting some brand new person that may only just be a habitual switcher anyway, regardless of how good your network and the service and the product and all that kind of stuff is. So if that's the case, then how fast does this particular industry want to, for example, roll out 5G advanced? How fast does it want to roll out 6G? What's the return on investment? And if you have to spend, for example, 53 billion or 26 billion, or what did AT&T spend 40 billion on spectrum, what's the customer going to be willing to pay for that deployed spectrum once you turn it up, once you put it on air? Is it more than what they pay for LTE? If so, how much more? Is it more than what they pay for 5G? If so, how much more? That's the question that's being asked in every boardroom, in my opinion, right now, above all the telcos.
You make good points.
All right, good. Next story here. I've got it up on the screen. AT&T wants a national spectrum strategy and focus on midband. So the main points are in the middle of the article, and we'll cover them. And I've covered these a couple of different instances on my channel videos, and I'm sure they've popped up on podcast discussions as well. All right, so the first thing that they want to push for, and this is respect to AT&T, and I don't think you're going to find much difference between Verizon and T-Mobile. I think they're all going to be in agreement here. Exclusive licensing to provide a certainty of interference-free access necessary to secure the infrastructure investment. Flexible use rights to allow it to be refarmed for more advanced technologies over time. Full power, good propagation characteristics, so 8 gigahertz or lower. Wide coverage, macro network use, not just small cells. Large contiguous channel sizes to allow for higher data rates and TDD operations to increase efficiencies in 5G, and internationally harmonized to the greatest extent possible. So you guys know what they're talking about here. These requirements that they're looking for in terms of a network grade spectrum plan, they are basically saying if we're going to pay tens of billions of dollars for spectrum, we want it to be powerful, we want it to be without limitations, and we want it to be unfettered, right? No games, no tomfoolery, none of the CBRS business, none of the DoD or C-band business with all this clearance problems. They want it clean, mean, and obscene. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them for asking for this stuff.
No
If you're
raccoon
going to
rape
build legitimate 5G capacity nationwide, you need this type of access. I don't blame them. I think this is the way to be, and this is not what AT&T should be pushing for. This is what the FCC should be commanding. Right? So just kind of my take, and I'm going to jump in here and let's get the bearded dragon on this one.
By the way, that desire is really difficult to achieve, since at the moment there is no furrow spectrum aside from, say, millimeter wave carriers have not deployed. All spectrum that is getting auctioned off at this point has, and this also goes back to the C-band, N77, N78, all that spectrum has had incumbent uses. So the only way we could get spectrum without additional baggage is prior to the auction having the spectrum cleared out and calculating how much guard band is required for the neighboring frequency and not auctioning off that guard band. The difficulty there is during the auction process, during the installation process, that spectrum is fallow. It is unused. And for like scientific research, radar, communications, it could still be useful. So, yeah, the only way to get that dream for midband would be to clear out the spectrum preemptively, pay off the incumbents preemptively, and then sell it, hoping that you make more from the sell than what you had to pay the incumbents.
All right, let me get Zero Cool in on this one. Zero Cool, what's your take on those requirements or requests from AT&T?
This is the best article of the night. I absolutely love this. I got a smile on my face right now. Yeah, I knew this was coming. The stank talked about this and has clearly called almost every single one.
Yeah.
Focus, but it's always been always going to be a long-term strategy for mid-band focus. And now he's pissed, and now he wants the gravy. This is great. This makes me so happy. So this means they're going to spend more money on mid-band. They're going to get more sites optimized with mid-band and more FCC focus based on mid-band as well for high power. This is great. No, this is so cool.
Coming at a time where AT&T has kind of reinvigorated their wireless network plans.
Yes.
Right? O-RAN
yes.
and Ericsson and
exactly.
Fiber and all this. Like it feels like they're legitimately focused now. They've really gotten their mind away from the Warner Media situation. They really have moved on. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And no radio does mid-band better than an Ericsson radio, right? So, no, this is freaking awesome. Yeah. Go Stanky. This is great. So, yeah, very happy about this.
Let me get Ricky in on this one. Ricky, talk to me about those requirements for AT&T and what they're asking for and what they want to see.
Well, AT&T is asking for something that they can't get because we have a failure of the Federal Clown Commission. Until they get their act together and they start doing things the right way, we are not going to even reach 5G advanced. And it's true what Pete said. We have a lot of millimeter wave that's sitting there not used, but it's too expensive to do it all in small cells like Verizon's done. It's just too much. The only way for millimeter wave to be useful and actually help us with 5G advance is when they do the full duplex GigaMIMO. If that technology just can come out and they can put that on every macro site, you're going to have 3 miles indoor, 4 or 5 miles outdoor on millimeter wave. And it's going to be amazing. And that's going to be real 5G. This fake 5G stuff, 20 megahertz channels and the old technology, that is not cutting it. And the FCC is not giving us anything. They're not giving us any new frequencies. There's no new auctions even planned right now. So even if tomorrow the FCC says, oh, let's have an auction, we're not even going to see it auctioned for 2 or 3 years and then cleared to use for another 4 or 5 years. That's too long. We can't wait that long. They're failing us miserably. So AT&T can want all that stuff, but AT&T is making a lot of mistakes. They're doing N77. They're using DC, and it's ruining their network. They should not be using DC. They should turn it off. The dual connectivity, turn it off, and use fake 5G. And then where they have a tower that's been upgraded, then use the N77. Then you're going to have a better experience. But as long as they keep using DC, they're going to be trash. And AT&T is completely trash here in Vegas. It's horrible. Dish is working better than AT&T at this point. And Verizon's even having some problems in some isolated areas that I've seen driving around. But not until the FCC gets off their buns and start doing things right, then we can get 5G Advanced going. But the only thing that's going to save us for future reuse is going to be this GigaMIMO technology that Qualcomm's working on. Once that comes out and the vendors can start using it, you're going to see an explosion of macro building on this GigaMIMO for millimeter wave because they have the frequencies already. They had the auctions, they're just sitting there. They can't even use it because they can't even deploy it.
Let me get EM Tech on this. EM, what did you think of those, I guess, requests or requirements from AT&T in regards to, future of 5G spectrum and what they can do for building a network?
I'm all for it because I think the conversation around shared spectrum, the CBRS experiment, the talk of using unlicensed spectrum in the 3.1 gigahertz band, like it's all a joke, man. I mean, CBRS is a failed experiment in my opinion.
Exactly.
But I do find it rather funny that AT&T, we had this conversation a couple podcasts ago about how AT&T is going to embrace the unlicensed. They're going to deploy a one-stop solution from Ericsson for all this unlicensed spectrum. This article directly contradicts that conversation or that narrative. Like, and I kind of called it during that conversation. I was like, that just sounds too. That's not AT&T. That's not the AT&T way. And this, I like that they're taking a position on it though, because something's got to change if we want to start advancing these networks. So. I don't know. Stanks got the approval from me.
Let me get B in here.
Really good points, everybody. I'm not surprised AT&T is saying this. I mean, they got their butt kicked in the last auction, so they've been clamoring about mid-band since that auction was closed. So I get it. They're operating from a position of weakness with respect to 5G mid-band spectrum availability. So I understand why they want a national spectrum strategy. Makes sense. But having said all that, I do think that they make valid points. But to what the bearded dragon says, I agree with Pete. Unfortunately, it's a dream. There's not enough spectrum available to auction off that would meet that specification or that will meet the requirements AT&T is asking for. We just don't have that much spectrum laying around. It's not. This is not KB Toys or Toys R Us. They just not out there. But to that point, if that's the case, and we know that there may be situations where spectrums like CBRS will be necessary, you shouldn't have to pay that much for it. We should have never been in a situation as a country where we saw one carrier pay $53 billion for one swath of spectrum. That was always highway robbery. It always was. Spectrum costs too much in this country. You look at other countries across the world, they're not paying that much for spectrum. I'm not sure why in America our government likes to, cannibalize almost every industry in the world and turn right back around and say, hey, these companies are evil and we need to regulate them. Well, you certainly don't mind taking billions of dollars from them in order to meet your bottom line. I mean, that's essentially what they do every few years. They make these carriers spend billions of dollars. They're part of the problem with respect to return on investment. How are you supposed to turn $53 billion into a return on investment, or 26 billion or 40 billion dollars into a return on investment, when the government already knows that telcos have a challenge with respect to raising prices? They want to be, understanding of what people's pockets can afford and things of that nature. It's very difficult to do that, especially when the government touts, connectivity is a right. Okay, well, why are you doing this whole auction thing where you're making people pay the amounts of money that it takes? So I certainly understand what AT&T's saying. It makes a lot of sense. If you're not going to be able to provide, to Sneed's point, the powerful spectrum that's uninhibited, then lower the price. That simple. Lower the price. We shouldn't be having to see these carriers paying this much for spectrum swaths. Keep it in the millions, not the billions. How about that?
They'd have to follow what I said in the video Sneed did, and he pinned my comment for this in that video when he was talking about the NTIA doing a review for what spectrum could be moved for cellular use. They would have to put purchase limits and price caps on those. And to have reliable mid-band spectrum nationwide, these block limits with the purchase limits would have to be for nationwide for the amount of spectrum you can buy. And there would have to be a cap. The biggest issue with the auctions is they're really fierce, they're really competitive, and they're incentivized to spend billions of dollars, the telcos, to purchase prime spectrum, and the lesser spectrum still goes for hundreds of millions simply because there's a bid war. So if you say, if there's like a gigahertz available, split it up for like 4 or 5 ways. Say you can buy no more than 2 of these divisions for nationwide spectrum. You would still see bidding by some carriers up to the billions on the extra spectrum, but not the guaranteed at the lower price they can just buy.
So that requires an entirely new structure, right? The way that they go into this with reserves and things of that nature. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. What up, Los?
So essentially, what I said, lower the prices. The spectrum costs way too much money, and now, specifically AT&T and Verizon are stuck in a situation where they're having to do more with less margin. You got to put out all of this capacity. You got to deploy all this stuff, and it's going to take you years to get a return on investment. And while also having to plan for 5G Advanced and 6G. And I think that may have been why I know Hans did that whole Yahoo thing a few weeks ago, that Yahoo Invest conference, and he was saying 2032 is when you'll probably see a 6G phone in customers' hands, and it makes a lot of sense because the network probably isn't going to be deployed as fast as what we saw with LTE and 5G, because again, the return on investment is starting to slow.
All right, cool. Los, let me get you in here, brother. What's going on, man?
More chicken.
More.
Right now.
The carriers need more chicken. Is that right?
No, everybody wants more chicken, bro. Just like me right now. I don't think this 12 piece of Buffalo Wild Wings was enough, bro.
The FCC wants more chicken.
Mango habanero is good, but yeah.
Nah, I mean it's the consumer. Consumer too.
Yeah, the consumer wants more too.
Yeah.
I mean, what AT&T put out, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're right, but at the same time, Pete's right, B's right. What the hell are they gonna do, bro? There's no return on investment, bro. There's not enough spectrum, available. Even if there was, Rick is right. It's gonna take about 5 to 7 years before we even see it cleared to be able to use. And then what, bro? By then the networks aren't even making a return back on the money because everybody wants more chicken, bro.
Yep.
Yeah, but there's a sizable amount of good spectrum. So 150 megahertz will be available at 3.1. That's major. That's major.
Yeah, 5 to 7 years.
2027.
Wait, why does it have to be? Wait, hold on a second. Why does it have to be 5 to 7 years? It's not going to require that long.
Yes, it will. That's the
why,
process.
Ricky? Why?
Look in the past. Look at how long N77 took.
N77 was coming from satellite.
And what's it going to cost? 80 billion.
Yeah.
So I mean, where we going? I mean, it was 53. Where's it going to go? 75. Who's going to pay 75 billion?
It's got to be cleared just like N77.
Not so much the fact that it's only 150 megahertz. That's like less than 40 a carrier if you split it 4 ways.
Exactly. That's taking one chicken, throwing it out to 50 homeless people. Everybody's going to get a little piece.
Yeah, but that's
not going to make them happy.
Right, but that's one auction. We've already identified 5 potential frequencies that could be suitable for this next phase of building.
But the issue is,
I think AT&T with those future auctions, I think AT&T is going to spend the most. I think this article is just saying, is giving Verizon like a heads up, saying, okay, we're going to spend like you guys, maybe even more.
Look, but that's ridiculous. The cost is less important if the access is really strong. And if the access is compromised, well, then it needs to be at a discount rate.
But the cost is never less important, guys. $53 billion, $40 billion is ridiculous.
Oh, it is.
It's ridiculous, guys. It's ridiculous. The government. I mean,
I look at it like this: if connection is mandatory, if they're saying that connectivity is mandatory, then they need to knock the price down,
or allow the carriers the ability to be able to raise prices, or subsidize, like you continue to subsidize the cost if that's what you're going to do. If you're going to make these carriers pay that much for spectrum, then keep the ACP program, active and open it up regardless of how much people make. Stop playing around because it's ridiculous. You're pretty much seeing the FCC extort these carriers and then turn right back around and put all of the political incentive on the carriers to make sure that they deploy this stuff and then charge reasonable prices for the service.
Hold on, man.
While they pocket $100 billion worth of money for air. Spectrum is air, guys.
C-band had a reserve of like 20 billion.
Okay.
It generated 81 billion in total proceeds, not including.
We do need lower reserves, but we also need like guarantees and deathmatch rounds.
No. So here I'm just gonna highlight what happened with C-band. 2015 meetings, plan, rules, the whole shebang. By 2017, it's on the docket. We got plans with satellite. They were at the table. Everything's cool, right? The auction happens. A reserve happens. The auction generates $81 billion. The reserve is far exceeded by 4x. Carriers drove up the pricing. Like, come on, B. Why would you say that, dude? You got like, seriously, like you're blaming who? Who are you assigning blame to? I don't understand.
Yeah. So what happens is basically the FCC will set a reserve, 20 billion, right? The carriers outbid each other. That's why they've been spending so much money. They're just competing for bids. They go through 3 rounds of bids.
But that's what I've talked about before. You got a lot of bids that aren't being made in good faith. You got a lot of carriers who are being allowed by the FCC.
Yeah.
They're being versus but supply. You have to be able to actually pay for what it is that you're bidding on. So if you bid 35 billion, you got to actually have that money available to spend. I'm not sure that that's something that's being regulated. So that's
like
why
an overpriced car, pretty much, right?
Yeah, absolutely. $53 billion on unless you're giving somebody 1,000 megs. $53 billion is ridiculous. $40 billion is ridiculous. And so I understand why AT&T is like, yo, this is ridiculous. You guys are extorting us. Is what they're being nice, of course, because that's what you have to do. But the government is extorting these private companies and then turning right back around and laying all the political responsibility on the carriers to meet the demand of the American people at affordable rates. True. It's ridiculous, and we should all be angry.
Yep.
So really, what should have happened is if Verizon and AT&T, because they're the only two that complain, right? Well, actually, no, that's not even necessarily true. AT&T is really the only one that's publicly complained. But let's just say if they were upset about the disingenuous, bumping fake auction, price raising by T-Mobile, then just force them to have to pay for it. And if they can't pay for it, it gets re-auctioned. They get slapped on the wrist for being a-holes. I mean, if they really have the guts to do it, I mean, that's what I would do. I would say, go ahead, eat it up. Let's see you pay for that spectrum that you're trying to one-up us on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you bid for a certain swath of spectrum, you have to verify that you have those funds available to pay. For that bid to be certified, you have to say we got it in the bank, or we have the assets, or whatever the case may be. We can pay for it. And I'm not so sure that that's happening now. Someone, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I've not heard of such a structure being in place.
Part of the auction. That is part of it. If somebody's going to be bidding, they have to show that they got the cash to pay for it.
That's correct. Yeah, they can't. FCC, you can't award a license until it's paid for. So
Well,
what happens
And you
is
can't even bid on it unless you prove that you can pay for it.
so you're so
exactly.
so
Yeah.
you're saying that's already in place.
Yes.
So when you bid on a I have a lot of FCC licenses. So basically, what happens is we'll put out what's called a price per megahertz or price per megahertz of
Mm-hmm.
pop, right? So
Yep.
what that does is okay. So FCC sets that price. Now the carriers know that they're going to be bidding against the other carriers and driving up said price. Okay, so what they have to do is they have to go to the banks, the credit lenders. That's why you always see these credit ratings before this freaking spectrum auctions. They have to go and negotiate their lenders in good faith and then buy all that spectrum from the FCC. The FCC grants the licenses and airwaves, and then the carriers, which usually what's happening right now, is they complain about the price later. That's exactly what's happening.
So another way of explaining what Zero Cool says, this saying is, the carriers prior to the auctions go out and get loans based on what they're expecting to spend plus a little extra,
Mm-hmm.
and they get it ready, and then they use the loan approval
Yep.
as a deposit, so to say, saying we're able to get this, so this will be our max bid limit. And once they won it, the spectrum itself is the collateral on the loan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So they do need proof of the collateral before they can go into these auctions. Well, no. They need proof of the loan, which the spectrum is collateral for before going into the auction, and they typically bid under their maximum loan allotment.
All right, good stuff, guys.
I agree.
Let's
with you
do.
about the. Oh,
I was gonna. I got to pivot just because we're running out of time. We're getting to an hour.
no problem.
Yeah. So let me share this with you all here. Shared this with the folks over on the video side of the channel's productions, but I wanted to show this in stream since I got you guys on the panel. The 5G GOAT strikes again. The 5G GOAT is putting up necessary antennas and radios to provide enough capacity for their network. They are now officially in multiple markets across the country putting up multi-frequency 5G UC connections. So you got your N41, which we know, that's been T-Mobile's base capacity layer. They hold DoD in the 3.45 and C-band in the 3.7 in some markets, and now they're starting to put up antennas and radios for those frequencies. Nothing to scale yet, but this is a tower site in Houston, Texas that was shared to me from an SMT Nation member, and I guess some folks on Reddit have been able to identify some of the gear that they're seeing. Nokia is also being able to provide, I guess the two frequencies that are in N77 in a single antenna radio integrated hardware. So I know they wanted to do this. I know this was big for T-Mobile. They want to go up a tower site once, add, try to save space, weight, all those things to keep their costs down. So they've been waiting. C-band cleared completely several months ago, and DoD has been cleared for months as well. People, if you want auction licenses, you could, deploy and things of that nature. But now it's happening. So T-Mobile's gonna level up. They're gonna start sending crews up to add more capacity, and we've been asking for this and clamoring for this. We know they're not very keen on millimeter wave, so all we could hope for is them, cell splitting and putting up more radio gear for the other frequencies that they have been sitting on, waiting for gear to become available for them. So the 5G GOAT strikes again. Zero Cool, jump in.
Yeah, this is all fine and good. This is part of their modernization project, especially in Excalibur markets as well, to convert to Ericsson, right? So this is what you see here. So, but this is all great. Yes, existing modernizations, but spend some more capex, and add some new towers. They're supposed to be done by the end of 2026. Spend some more capex. It's great that they're doing this, yes, but we need more. We need, added new towers definitely to the footprint, not just not just modernizing existing ones. That's all I have to say. But no, good for them though.
RLV, let me get you in here, bruh.
Oh my God. It looks like a skunk ape was on that tower. Look at those wires. A skunk ape was eating the fiber off them towers. Look at that. That's just a complete rat's nest up there.
Yeah, that's not the
Get
cleanest.
off the weed.
That's not the cleanest.
That's just
build.
crazy. Well, I'm not going to say too much because you already know what I think about Skunk-a-Doodle-Doo. So, but I don't know. Most phones are not even going to be capable of doing what they're putting up there on the tower, anyways, unless you buy a S24. And
Well, I was gonna say
can
the
do like
iPhone's the
5
real
carrier.
issue, Ricky. It's the
Yeah.
iPhone. The new Galaxies are golden.
Yep. But I mean, look at how many bands you got up there. 1, 2,
You got a lot.
3,
It's
4,
gonna be
5.
N71,
That looks like
N25,
seven
N66,
or 8
N77,
carrier
N41.
aggregation.
Right.
Yeah. And it's just not 141 because it's fragmented. Just like at work where I work at, there's a 100 megahertz channel of N41, there's a 30 megahertz channel, and there's a 20. That's 3 carrier aggregation right there on standalone. So
Yeah,
it's not going to go
situation.
stretch very far, but I don't know. Good for Skunky. Glad to see that they're spending some money.
All right, let me get
And that's
EM
all I got
Tech
to
in
say
this.
about that.
Yeah, let me get EM Tech at this.
So a couple things. They've been doing these test setups in that Houston market for a while. The other thing that I just want to make pretty clear here is those all-in-one radios are really heavy and add a lot of weight to the site. Like they weigh like 75, 80 pounds each.
Mm-hmm.
So don't expect this to be done on a mass scale for quite a while. Is that means that they're going to have to go back. They're going to have to redo structural tests on all these sites, and their deployment from the beginning with their mid-band, they do a really simple, really easy cookie cutter setup. Like it's going to take time, and they're going to do it very selectively for a while because it's going to cost them a lot of money. So, but I guess good on Nokia for actually getting gear out in the field
Right.
that can do it. That's something.
All right, B, the 5G GOAT strikes again. Where you at with this?
Whatever. I don't even have. Man. Good job. That's it.
Hey, Zero Cool.
That was real hard for you, B, wasn't it?
So, Zero Cool.
Yo.
How would you Modesto this one?
How would I unnest this?
No,
Modesto.
how would you Modesto it?
Oh, Modesto, this mean just this particular site here, or just you mean like
Yeah, how would you put your signature on this if you had the ability?
He wouldn't. He wouldn't admit to that.
Well,
Rat's
here's the
tail
thing.
nest.
How I would do this is it's more of a, at least how I would do this, to be honest, is it's a waiting game to get better antennas to combine the frequency. So basically, I would combine as much low band together, as much mid band together, aside from the N41, right? Keep that separate. But I can probably get away with 3 powerful antennas with some millimeter wave versus what they have for this setup. That's just what I would do.
What would it be so powerful it erases credit cards when you get too close?
Well, maybe we'll see.
That sounds like PIM waiting to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is good for what they have, but this is not the especially if they're going to who knows if they're going to keep Nokia or not, so I don't know. But I don't this is definitely not the final product for sure. So this is just they're going to have to go back to the site within 10 years again anyways. So
Marcus is in the chat blaspheming on a Sunday. My God.
I don't know. I like Reaper's comment. T-Mobile eats crayons.
Magenta crayons. Get it right.
No, that's a funny word because everyone in this state always seems to say it as crayon. They just never say the full word.
What, crayons?
Mm-hmm.
The crayons.
Well, I worked at T-Mobile Arena on Saturday, and it was devastating to me. I had PTSD when I got home after reading the word T-Mobile everywhere in that arena. When I went to sleep and I had nightmares, and I had magenta like sheep jumping on me and stuff. It was traumatic.
Dennis, what up, bro? Get on in here, man. What you doing? Sitting on the sideline. What's up, man? Come on in here, man.
So I look at this like this, Sneed. It's great and all what they're doing with this, but how in the hell we don't even have handsets that can handle even next year's handsets only going to be able to do what 4 carrier aggregation on standalone, and they already have to use 2 or 3 of it alone on N41 because of how fragmented it is. So how in the hell are they even going to take advantage of N77? And N77 alone can only be aggregated with like an N5 connection or or something like that. Basically like a low band or maybe with another mid band, and that's it, like an N2, N66. So if you aggregate 70, if you look at the modem files will show like N2, 77, 77, and probably they'll add a N66 at the end, but that's it. You ain't gonna be able to do it with 41s, so you're basically isolating your 41.
Yeah, that's exactly why I said they're gonna have to go back to this and redo it eventually. This isn't the final product.
The modem files do not allow the aggregation the way that they're thinking it will, and at the end of the day, it's just gonna cause a lot of problems because now you're gonna have phones. Let's say on sites that have N77, they're gonna be like, okay, well I'll do N25, 77, 77, and 66. And then out of nowhere, it's gonna prefer N41. And, like they're gonna have to redo the whole SIM provisioning, everything. It's gonna be wild, man. It's just gonna cause a lot of network headaches.
But Sneed called them the 5G GOAT. Get out of here.
Come on, man.
They're not the 5G GOAT. They're the cup GOAT.
Hey, look, Marcus is talking about U.S. Cellular being goated.
Oh gosh, please
US
no.
Cellular is goated. Come on.
No, Marcus,
Right.
no. They're gonna get bought out. They're gonna be gone by the end of the year, hopefully.
Yeah.
End of the year? Or
I
I wish
so.
Dish
like
and
2 to
US
3
Cellular
weeks.
would merge.
That is my Christmas wish. Leave it alone.
Dish is filing for Chapter 11 next year.
No, they're not.
Come on.
Stop with the lies. Come on, man. If anybody's going bankrupt, it's going to be T-Mobile with all the churn they got going on.
Oh no.
Yeah, they're gonna have a high churn rate Q4. Mark my words.
10-4.
I mean, Dish is just wasting all this money.
And when they do, I don't want to hear nobody saying, "Oh, but they grew in consumer," because I'm gonna say, "Oh, but did they grow in business? Did they grow in business?"
I can tell you this right now: Dish in Las Vegas is more reliable than any other carrier.
No, Dish has a great network.
And that is
great.
100% true.
Now you know you need to stop.
I don't know.
It is true. I've been testing the Dish here. It's more reliable even than, it's more consistent, more reliable than Verizon.
My God, on today. It is Sunday, and folk in here blaspheming.
Come on,
Now
man.
this is only Vegas.
Dish has an
But when
network.
Dish adds N77 to their fake 5G that they got, it's going to be pretty amazing. You're going to see gigabit speeds.
I will say that Dish has came out with a good network configuration based off the jump. They're doing pretty good. So I think I give them credit where credit's due there.
Oh my God!
I've been testing for 2 months.
U.S. Cellular doesn't have any money to buy Dish.
Dude, US Cellular can kick rocks. TDS is selling them. Don't mention the company because it's pointless and they're worthless and they just deserve to die and sell off. So there.
Well, so it's like what happened with Sprint. It just couldn't be TDS owning US Cellular anymore. It just couldn't be SoftBank owning Sprint. It just couldn't be TDS doing US Cellular. I don't know exactly who they could get US Cellular sold to. I don't think it's Dish. I don't think it's happening with Dish. Dish has too much stuff that they're worrying about right now. Dish is not ready for this.
I don't care.
Dish has no money to deal with this. We need I don't even know.
They'll sell them to Cellcom. How about that?
What is Marcus tripping about today?
Hold,
what is this?
Cellcom.
Yeah, dude.
Stop it.
They are the goat.
Stop it. A gig for $55. Yeah.
Cellcom's the goat. Come on.
Cellcom's the goat now? What the hell?
A gig for $55.
They're regional. regional.
They
carrier
changed
that's
their
per
logo
region.
like 5 months ago, and none of their stores have that new logo.
Bro, Armstrong Cable is the GOAT. We all know that.
Oh, you
Change their
absolutely know,
logo?
baby. You absolutely know with their 20 meg. Sneed, they reduced their upload speeds. They increased them during the pandemic, and they reduced them on their new plans since you brought them up.
Yo, why are you using Verizon as your main? What type of blasphemy is happening right now?
Wait,
What
what?
up, beanie?
Oh, why am I using Verizon? Okay, do you want to hear this story about how
Yeah.
AT&T pissed me off?
No,
Okay.
no,
yeah.
no, no
Yeah,
beanie,
we
no
wanna
beanie.
hear.
We don't want to
Yeah.
hear it. We don't want to hear it. No.
Okay.
Verzine's going way harder in my head right now.
So listen. So
No.
I
Plan
went
B, no.
on Thursday. I ordered an iPhone 15 Pro Max. All right, and I went to go pick it up at the Apple Store, unlocked. What I thought would be unlocked. Because Carlos was telling me about how he was able to get some of them unlocked, with the AT&T deal as long as he picked it up in store. Well, it wasn't unlocked, so I went to return it. I went to return it and swap it out to buy one that wasn't financed. And then the way Apple was handling it, because of how that trade-in worked, was they kept my trade-in phone, and I was supposed to get a device credit for the the instant trade-in value that Apple applies, not like the full one, just like the instant value that Apple would give. Well, AT&T never gave me the credit. I've been calling them and having a very poor customer service experience. They give 0 Fs about me and my account. They won't even offer anything at all to compensate me. So they made me really angry, TLDR. And I just decided that I'm going to use my as my little protest, because I still can't convince my dad to leave them for some reason. As my little protest, I'm deciding just to use my Verizon. You can ask Carlos. The personal Verizon line that I have has been on ever since. I've been using it, and my combo has been T-Mobile Verizon. That's my little protest to them. And I've been using Verizon specifically as my data line.
And how is that
B
going?
should be proud. B should be proud.
Good job.
I mean, EM Tech will tell you how it is at my house, because I have him.
Yeah, we were talking about it.
How'd you afford an iPhone after Amsterdam?
But outside of
it's
my house, it's been okay. So here's what I'll say. I've noticed some oddities with Verizon in my market. Like, I'll use my parents' house as an example. At my parents' place, which they live out in the middle of Egypt, again, EM Tech knows what I'm talking about. They get awesome service, like at their house in the backyard. I'm talking like 500 to 700 meg, like at their house. However, the odd thing about it is if you walk like 15 footsteps over to a nearby club, even if you're perfectly outside and you would think you'd have like good signal, you get a pretty dramatic drop off in performance. It's still usable, but you're losing the ultra wideband. Still usable, clear, just to clarify, but you're losing the ultra wideband, and it's only like 15 footsteps to the right. And it's kind of the same situation with my house, where I'm at, I'm getting pretty rough performance, but if I walk to the opposite side of my cul-de-sac, maybe like 15, 25 footsteps, I'm getting great, in my opinion, what I call great 5G performance. But in places like the Robinson Mall and stuff like that, it's pretty good. But Carlos will tell you on Black Friday specifically, because when I was out and about on Black Friday, Verizon was really struggling over down at South Hills Village Mall. They were struggling real bad with that parking lot full. But when I went back to that mall, because I had to go down there a couple times, they performed well. Obviously, they have a DAS inside, and you know where I'm talking about. But overall, I mean, it's pretty solid, and as the N77 deployments continue to deploy, they're continuing to get better in Pittsburgh. It's I would say it's pretty comparable with T-Mobile, where it's like, good enough in most circumstances.
Did T-Mobile upgrade your home serving site?
Yeah. T-Mobile's really good in my market. They got N25 going on, which I get at my house.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, the N25 is actually massive, because now I can consistently get pretty good uploads at my house. N25 is huge. At 25 megahertz.
Okay. You're coming around then. Okay, cool.
I mean, look,
Dennis, what up?
AT&T still is the best performance at my house, but again, EM Tech understands why.
Yeah, bro had me on Google Maps looking at where and Cell Mapper. I had Cell Mapper and Google Maps pulled up looking where the sites were.
So he understands why AT&T is tremendous in my neck of the woods in general, but they've made me mad, so I don't want to use them for anything.
For years, I've been discrediting Verizon in my market. I've just been suffering with that old LTE way too long. And then EM for telling me about this. Just watch this. I'm going to pull up.
Yeah, I literally drove through his town. I was like, bro, they got N77. Why are you trashing Verizon? That's great.
Hey, look at this. Look at this.
Is that inside?
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's
N77, really good.
N77 on standalone.
And that's Verizon?
Yeah. Verizon.
So why are you trashing on Verizon?
You said that was bad?
He was trashing them when they was on LTE, he said.
Exactly. Before. I've been trashing them when they were not doing it. And then EM was like, hey, yo, they just upgraded all the stuff. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
So they upgraded while in the middle of you complaining.
By the way, B, since we're talking about complaining about Verizon, I just want to say I'm disappointed. Verizon's raising rates on their home internet again, dude. They increased the rates for legacy customers by $10 for FiOS. So Gig 2.0 cut or the people that had the 2.0 plans, $10 increase, baby.
You know who's not raising their plans? T-Mobile with their price lock.
Nah, I'm just saying that was some cable stuff. I was used to Verizon keeping their rates consistent. I was big sad. Sad. Also, as people know on Twitter, Verizon cut my fiber line, which was fun.
Damn.
Yeah, no, Steve, I swear I tagged you in it, dog.
I know, man. It's terrible. When I found out about that, I was pretty bummed out because the last time you had an issue with FiOS, they took eons to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean,
I shouldn't say figure it out, to respond to it.
I mean, I got a great tech. He was really like upfront, dude. He was bad mouthing the contract. He was like, "Yeah, dude, these guys are idiots." And he was telling me about how it's gonna probably happen again. And I was like, "Well, that doesn't inspire confidence." But on the bright side, when he went to go run my temp line, he actually improved my setup. So what he did was he took the fiber that was so before it was just one big long fiber that was going into my house to the ONT when they fixed it. This time though, what he did was he split the fiber from my house and turned it into a box outside, and he ran a temp line across so that now if it ever breaks again, I don't have to be home. The techs will always have access to it. Yeah. So at least it'll be easier to repair. And I mean, he got me up and running.
You got your own splice point is what you have, which is good.
Yep. So he improved my setup. And he hooked me up with the new Verizon router, the one that has the 10 gig port on it, the new I can't remember the model number. But yeah, he hooked me up with that. He didn't scan or nothing, so I just have that chilling in my house as well as the G3100. I use neither of them, but
so it sounds like you had an issue and they went above and beyond to fix it.
That's what I heard.
I mean, I had to wait a couple days. That was rough. That was painful.
Oh my god, 2 days. Woo! Jesus.
Hey, 2 days. What up? 2 days when you work from home. 2 days when you work from home, dog. Listen, if this was anyone else, man, and you're working from home, bro, that's taking time off kind of deals. Thankfully, I had literally every hotspot under the sun, and Carlos, wherever his kind soul is at, showed me how I could force Project Genesis to force roam on AT&T because I tried to use Verizon for hotspot. That wasn't working. T-Mobile was fine, but T-Mobile does stupid stuff with their hotspot where they count double data if you're connecting to a VPN. So I used it up too quickly. So I was relying on AT&T for hotspot. And
what is your Verizon FiOS speed?
My fiber speed? Gig.
Do you have the capability yet to do 2 or 5 or no?
No. 2 gigs not available in my market.
Will you get 2 or 5 gigs once it becomes available? If it comes available, will you upgrade?
Probably not.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, look, it would be exciting and all that stuff for a speed test, but I've said this before, but having gig symmetrical speeds is infinite bandwidth for my needs. Like, there's literally not a scenario where I would derive benefit. Like, I would have to go out of my way to like, not that I couldn't go out of my way to utilize it, but I'd have to go out of my way to try to actually make utilization of it. And I would much prefer having a cheaper bill at gig symmetrical instead.
Yo, shout out to Alex. Thank you for the super chat. He said, Sneed, do you know if T-Mobile publishes a millimeter wave site app? I don't think they do. There was a time where they were mapping it on their native coverage map. It's been a while since I've seen it or read it or looked at it, so I can't comment or speculate. All I would say is perhaps consider going to one of their known millimeter wave markets, looking at some of those possible locations, and then trying to kind of figure out where they might have some more of it. I don't know.
What market was that?
Stever's got a map. Yeah, Stever's got a map. You know where the sweat drips down from his armpits. That's where millimeter wave is at. That's where.
Thanks, Alex, for the super chat.
You might be. They had a website, like a landing page that showed some of the areas when they initially launched it, and it's probably still accurate because I don't think they've expanded beyond what was launched in like 2020 or 2019. So,
they don't take millimeter wave seriously.
Let me see if I can find it.
Are we talking about T-Mobile or who are we talking?
T-Mobile.
Guys, they're too goat to worry about millimeter wave.
No, they've been deploying it because when I went down to Vegas, they had added a few small cells when we went to CES and stuff like that. I remember seeing millimeter wave, and Carlos was surprised when we were waiting outside of like an automated like food robot truck thing that they had there as like on display. But yeah, TLDR though, yeah, I will say one thing that will shock Sneed and you guys. Verizon had one of the better customer service experiences once I got a person. It was very hard to get a person, but once I did, I was satisfied with the customer service reps I spoke with.
All of your compliments to Verizon always backhanded.
Because I'm telling you the truth. You guys make it hard to get a person, but because, listen, when I was, your automated machine had me stuck in a loop about trying to look for my ONT, but my fiber was cut so it wouldn't happen, and it wouldn't let me get out of that hell loop. So I couldn't get a person. So in order to get a person, I had to call 611, which also kept wanting to route me to the mobile. So eventually I just went 611, talked to mobile sales, got transferred to FiOS sales, and then finally got transferred to a technical person to actually get a human. And once that happened, it was great. She booked my appointment. I really appreciated and love the fact that you guys have a link so the customers can share what they're seeing on their phone. It takes you like a website. You can like do the camera thing to share what's on your phone. I love that you guys are leveraging that technology. And I love that when I got done and I called in for billing, I didn't have to fight or nothing. They gave me a credit for $25. And I loved that too. So those were both very pleasant. And then I also love the fact that when I had to call the other day because I needed to ask why my bill went up $10 because I thought I lost my loyalty discount, I got an actual Pittsburgher. She was just out in oh crap, it starts with a W. Anyway, it was cool that I got routed to someone local. So I'm saying big ups to the Verizon reps when I got actual people. They were well trained and very good to work with. It was just your automated machine just left a little bit to be desired, and your callback function that you guys used to have in the app has been broken. It always wants you to schedule multiple days out instead of having like the little, because you guys used to have a callback option you could do in the app, which I really liked, but you got rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't wait until 10 gig fiber becomes mainstream because
what is Carlos eating right now?
Zero Cruel is going to have 10 gig connections throughout. A nice Sunday, it seems.
Oh, so up in the middle of nowhere, 10 gig fiber.
Well, I'll be moving.
So he's at Freddy's. Yeah.
We'll see where I'll be.
Let me just tell you right now, though, Freddy's ain't got shit on Culver's. I'm just gonna tell
Damn right.
Get out of here with that.
I don't know who either of them are, but I'm gonna guess.
Oh, Dennis, you don't even know.
I need some more peer pressure to get Sneed to go to Culver's.
Culver's is
Sneed,
good.
Go to Culver's.
I know he wants me to get cheese curds, dude.
Dairy Queen just makes me
go there. Listen,
I don't know what either of them are, but I'll tell you right now, the best ice cream shops are going to be your mom and pop places. That there's only like one of them, and they've been making the same recipe for like 100 years.
Yeah,
the best is homemade. Homemade. I can sneak beef organs in my homemade stuff.
Hey! I'm gonna throw you guys back to elementary school. All right, You get your milk, you get your sugar, you get your vanilla extract, and then you put that in a little Ziploc baggie, and then you get another Ziploc baggie that's bigger, ice and salt, and then you shake it, and you make your ice cream that way.
Oh damn! First grade coming back to me.
Hey, that was
There's a Freddy's
the best.
There's a Freddy's like 8 minutes from my house. It's next to a Panda Express and a Chick-fil-A. I don't know how it's still in business. Like we never see anyone there.
Hey, but Sneed, I got a question for you, man. And I don't know, you might have already talked about it, but AT&T ripping and replacing everything for Ericsson gear. I'm having a hard time telling. Are you net positive for this decision, or and looks like T-Mobile or AT&T Junior is going to be doing it too, as you phrased it, or are you kind of like a little concerned what that means for the United States market for the telco industry?
So, with respect to my particular situation, I mean, I like the concept of getting Ericsson in my market. I think it does violate a business ethic or moral or philosophy in which you put yourself in bed with a single vendor. I don't like the sound of that. I also think there's additional trade-offs, one of them being that massive MIMO is not an O-RAN standard. So are we even going to see a true full capacity theoretical efficiency from the AT&T network because of that? So like I literally look at this as it's like 50-50 down the line. I look at the whole thing. There's like 3 great things about it, and then there's 3 negative things about it. So I'm literally torn, and I will tell you, this is Stanky doing one thing, and that is him finding a way to have someone else facilitate the full modernization of his network. He did it once with FirstNet. He's doing it again with Ericsson and Fujitsu. So he has found a way to make it happen. He's doing the most by and still doing the least. It's absolutely insanity. And it's bonkers. It boggles my mind how he's been able to pull these things off. And I think he's exercised his inner Charlie Ergen in a way, right? By embracing the O-RAN. And he even got Ericsson on board, who has been really anti-O-RAN. Like I covered it in a Patreon and YouTube member exclusive video. This is literally like 50-50. And at the end of the day, it allows them to scale their network better in terms of modernizing it and making it more cost effective to run. But it does not make it the best network in the country. It makes it the most scalable network in the country. After Dish, of course. I have to give Dish their due. They were the first to do this. And I guarantee you the conversations that Stanky and Ergen had last year is what gave rise and inspired this. I can guarantee it.
Because Stanky's probably not wiping his ass with $100 bills. But, they got the O-RAN in common.
I think AT&T extended an olive branch to Ericsson. They've been not doing so hot as a company.
Personally, I think the deal makes sense in the short term for AT&T. But I think that in the long term, there's some likely risks, because who's to say Ericsson will consistently always have the consistent quality for their networking gear or the networking solutions that meet AT&T's needs. And when it comes to Ericsson's setup from I know they're using Fujitsu for their Open RAN, but I know Ericsson's kind of got more of an Apple walled garden approach with what they're doing when it comes to supporting the different Open RAN specs. So I think it'll be an interesting thing to see how it plays out within the next 10 years, especially when we start talking about the new specifications for 5G and any additional spectrum options that come down the line. But makes sense from a cost perspective. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. I wasn't really disappointed with Nokia gear in my market, but we'll see what happens.
What else? Oh, snap. Marcus is a new member. Shout out to Marcus.
You know what else?
Yeah.
You know what
US
else?
Cellular's the GOAT.
Stop it.
EM and Sneed enabling in the comments. You guys are crazy.
They're called
Nah, Union's
U.S. Cellular
goat.
for a reason. Come on.
Nah,
It's
you-
U.S. Cellular. That means us cellular. It's for the people, dog.
No,
Stop
that's,
it.
that's literally what their commercials say. It's U.S. Cellular, built for us.
Yo, shout out to Southwest Ohio Speed Testing. Salute to you, man. Thank you for the super chat. Has anyone used T-Mobile, Keep and Switch, or Carrier Freedom? They declined my first submission, even though I had all the right info, so I had to resubmit. I'm not sure about a known error or glitches with that. I will tell you that trading locked phones for locked phones doesn't really make sense to me personally, but
No.
to each their own. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if anyone
Well,
has
No,
experience with
Well, the keep and switch is like you take your phone from your old carrier to T-Mobile. They pay it off, but you keep the same phone, and when they pay it off, they unlock the phone.
Gotcha.
I've had friends that literally like they'll finance phones from Verizon or AT&T. After 3 months, which is the minimum required time, they'll take them to T-Mobile, pay them off, cancel T-Mobile after a month. Boom, they got a new brand new iPhone for like $300 or something. And I'm actually doing that for 2 iPhone 15s right now. So I'm kind of fucked if that doesn't work.
Isn't that fraud?
No,
No, it's
Yes, that is
They
the
let you-
definition of fraud.
That's definitely fraud, man. No disrespect. I'm just saying that's fraud.
no.
Keep it at 100. You
It's
might
not
be
against
sued.
the terms of the
How-
promotion.
It would-
It's
it
just
was-
a
fine print.
workaround.
If
It's a workaround.
it was fraud, they would not let me cancel after a month at T-Mobile.
Yeah, exactly. The terms say 30 days. It's not
Yeah.
fraud.
Thank
Fraud
you,
would be
workaround.
fraud.
Thank you, Carlos. More
Bro,
chicken to you.
I did it like I did it last week. I did it for my S23 Ultras, bro. The hell?
Exactly, bro. You
That
get
was-
it. More chicken.
Exactly,
chicken.
bro.
Hey man, that's my. Hey, hold on, wait a minute. That's my phrase, dog. What you saying? What you mean? That's my phrase. Hey,
More
hey, man.
chicken.
Hey, I
That's
took
my
advantage.
phrase, dog.
Bro, I took advantage of that more chicken like I did those Buffalo Wild Wings with my nice little Sunday dessert. That's right. More
Did they
chicken.
have any Culvers in Vegas?
It's an hour away in St. George.
It might be worth it though.
Oh no, man.
Maybe go up there, test out your goat dish while you're there.
Pizza on my side. I say that's fraud.
In the
Hey,
T-Mobile Varnar.
hey, Max, real quick, just so you know, I don't. Whenever you talk, your mic does like a thing where like it gets like a deep octave. I don't know if anyone else heard that or.
He's like dropping packets or something.
Yeah.
My AirPods must really just suck right now. I might probably switch to my computer then if it keeps doing that.
Oh, Max, FYI, the deal with T-Mobile, you have to have at least on one billing statement the installment that you can switch. You have to have proof.
Right.
Has to
Yeah.
at least be the first installment.
And
Yeah,
then
no, I know that.
for Southwest Ohio speed testing, what I'll say is I haven't taken advantage of the T-Mobile deal, but a lot of times with those trade deals, like when Comcast was doing buyouts of contracts at one point or anything like that, there's usually a lot of effort that needs to go into getting it taken care of. But if you did run into an issue, your best bet would probably just be you'll probably need to talk to the department that handles the rewards and like gift cards department. It's usually the same one that probably handles the payouts for those. You'll probably need to talk to them and get like your info just resubmitted or provide additional proof and verification. And they should be able to, I'd imagine, get you taken care of if T-Mobile works like anybody else's customer service departments.
The fact that Verizon was told that they couldn't lock their devices and they still locked them anyways proves how much bullshit goes on at these companies, dog. Like I know it's the best unlock policy, but like it was real before. Like they literally got a Spectrum deal built on the fact that they weren't allowed to lock phones, and they still to this day get to lock phones, and nobody says shit to them. You know, it's crazy, bro. The consumer protections in this country are absolutely just don't exist.
Please elaborate,
Come on.
Sneed.
Yeah,
Please
I
elaborate.
want to get to some clarification on that.
Yeah, but yeah, please elaborate.
Wait.
I thought
Back
that
up
was
the
like
truck.
10. I think it was like 10 years though.
Hold on,
Sneed?
Sneed. Don't tell
Yeah.
me the Consumer Protection Agency in our
No,
country isn't
the
doing
only-
anything.
We have
They made a
consumer
YouTube video
protections?
7 years
So-
ago about TVs falling on children. All right, Sneed.
So the way they got them to bypass that thing, and they only gave them up to 60 days. They couldn't give them any more because they actually wanted 6 months. Was supposedly to prevent fraud. But
You got to
like
understand
I
how
said,
much fraud occurs in this.
I
the
don't
wireless
give a
sales
damn.
industry.
I don't care, bro. So why make rules just to make exemptions? I'm not playing nice with these people, bro.
For the same reason,
the
consumers
industry,
get exemptions all the time. What are we talking about?
Consumers
Okay.
You know
deserve
what, bro?
exemptions.
And companies don't?
No,
Why?
they
We're
don't
talking about
deserve
people.
exemptions
Why not?
because they don't.
Why not? That's not a reason.
Yeah. Then that means I should be holding these companies accountable that leaked all my information and shit, right?
There's
They
no
did fraud on me.
accountability
don't
for
They
that.
literally did fraud on me.
don't they get held accountable?
No.
What are they gonna
T-Mobile's
have
never
them
been
for?
held
Sending me a-
accountable.
What the
sending me-
hell?
Look
What's-
at what
I mean, what's-
happened with
what's-
Expedian.
I'm going somewhere with this. Don't they get held accountable?
No,
Why not?
they do not. Companies
What-
do not get held accountable.
Well, tell me
They
why
don't.
the consumer
Because there's
continues to
nobody
choose
to hold
T-Mobile.
accountable. They're a business. There's no person to go knocking at their door and say, "Excuse me, Mr. So-and-so. Excuse me, Mrs. So-and-so, but you are wanted for such and such reason." There's nobody there. It's a faceless entity. There's nobody home.
And the lawsuits don't work.
And they
All right,
got
I'm not-
teams. They got
I'm not-
teams of lawyers to defend them, and they always win. And they always settle.
I'm not going to debate. You guys win.
What-
You're right.
what-
You're right.
What do you get?
Bro, who the hell
$2
wants to protect?
You're right. I said you're right.
Power.
I'm not. You're right. You're right.
100% you're right.
I just want to quickly say, as far as the lock policy goes, too, at least in the postpaid space, carriers have much better tools in place to recoup their or prevent fraud in the space, right? Like you guys in the postpaid space, you're getting socials off of people, you're getting driver's license off of people, you're getting all kinds of other customer information that you can use to punish or to disincentivize the fraud, right? Like if someone did do something fraudulent against Verizon's terms, they could easily blacklist the IMEIs of the device, so it couldn't be activated on any other network, because Verizon, is part of that wider organization of partner networks that takes care of that. And then, as far as getting your money back, you can put that up against their credit score, send it to collections, put it up against your credit score. You got your insurance and your write-offs, and there's a lot of things that could be done to.
I look at it like this, bro. This is what people claim that's fraud. This is what these companies claim that's fraud, Steve. You want to know what's the funniest thing that they claim fraud? That you open up a cell phone account under your own name, you cash it out, sell the phones because let's say you're about to be homeless or something, you're trying to make some money, even though it goes to collections and then whatever. But they call that fraud, bro. How's that fraud if you're maxing out your own credit? That's your problem. That's between you and the credit bureaus and that company, not between, it's not fraud. It's not like you're frauding your own name.
Carlos, it's actually that's not even the fraud they're talking about. They're talking about the inventory fraud, like what goes on at the store level. Like managers and employees should not be held accountable for their actions. They're just passing the buck.
That's not what they're talking about, Sneed.
Yes, they are.
That
is exactly what they're talking about.
You have not sold phone. You've not been in the retail space at all. Okay.
All I know is that the people in the store are responsible for what goes on at the store. I'm not going to sit there and make other consumers have to pay the price for that, dude.
I mean, look at what happened with the T-Mobile store managers. How they're opening accounts on other people's names just to sell phones.
So
Right.
there's no dishonesty within the consumer base at all. Everybody's innocent.
I couldn't tell you how many times people. I couldn't tell you how many times people used to come in when I worked at Best Buy with stolen IDs, stolen Social Security numbers, all the time.
But the consumer's innocent all the time. The consumer's innocent. The consumer's innocent.
Hold on a second. Hold on. I have to go into a store, buy a locked phone because some other dude is breaking the law?
Yes.
No.
Yes, you do.
No.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Let's put it this way.
What's funny?
Hold on. My dad was trying to upgrade his phone to iPhone 15. I was with him at the T-Mobile store. These T-Mobile employees did not know I, used to work for T-Mobile, and I had to literally stop them to try, to rip my dad off for his iPhone 15 promotion. Like, it was horrible. These employees that work there at these stores are cutthroat, and they don't give two rips about the consumer. They never have. They never will. This is what happens when you try to mold a business to shady employees that prey on consumers. It happens every day. It's
I
horrible.
mean, I definitely agree that there are employees that do wrong. That is definitely
Me
true.
too.
But
Well,
what I'm
it
saying
depends on
is
what's being done.
that's not exclusive to businesses. Like anywhere that has human beings are gonna have, you know, fraud or whatever dishonest. It's gonna happen. The consumer base has dishonest people in it, just like businesses do. It's not exclusive to
Well,
just employees or businesses. That's
All right,
I look
ridiculous
so
at it
for
like this,
anybody to
bro.
insinuate anything different.
I look at
It's
it like this,
ridiculous.
bro. I Why should we get punished, bro, for because they did some fraud, you know? Like I look at it like this, bro. At the end of the day, the company wins anyways, bro. Because
well,
the
if
insurance company that, bro, you can't bullshit me on this because when it comes to insurance shit, I know how it works. And every company, every damn store has insurance, bro. So if somebody frauded them for 4 phones, they get paid for 12. So that means they're winning.
So
And they
the
get paid
insurance,
and they get
so the
paid.
insurance company loses in that particular situation. So we're saying that the
Well,
insurance company should be the one that loses.
fuck
Why
them.
not? Why not do something in order to prevent the fraud from happening altogether? Like all the locked phone policies do is try to prevent fraud. That's it. I understand, and I absolutely agree that it is inconveniencing. To Sneed's point, that's definitely true. But
So,
what else do you do to try to prevent and slow down and reduce the likelihood of fraud?
so B,
Guys, it does happen.
what I'll say is, look. So I want to be clear here. As EM said, there is a ton of fraud in the telco space. Period. However, carrier locking phones is not a good way to quote unquote prevent fraud in the same way that data caps wasn't a good way to prevent peak network utilization on from a network management standpoint, right? Like better ways to prevent fraud are things like blacklisting the IMEIs once they're reported as fraudulent, right? If doing grabbing the socials in the case of the postpaid space, right? Because you're talking about finance and grabbing the socials, and you talked about stolen socials and stolen driver's license and stuff like that. But if someone's social is either blocked with the credit bureaus or has been reported as a stolen social before, it's going to show up when you do that check. When you're doing that kind of information, right? So there are other mechanisms in place that I feel like, especially in today's world, that are much more effective at preventing fraud. I mean, you could even look to maybe incorporate biometrics maybe at some point in the future when opening up the account or taking like a facial scan, right? I'm sure there's other technology mechanisms out there like ID&Me and other services that could be utilized to prevent fraud from the get-go, and that the carrier locking of phones really is a bygone thing that was really meant more to keep customers sticky and make it harder to switch than to actually prevent the fraud part.
I disagree. I mean, you got to realize something. Like the fraud got so bad at one point that AT&T, on top of locking their phones for 3 years, was requiring like $400 to $500 security deposits per line if you wanted to start new service. Like
Guys,
if I walk into a store and a rep tells me I got to put $2,000 down to switch and pay for service, like that is a deterrent that does tend to work. But then you're risking longtime customers from coming over to your network. Like locking phones, even for an interim period, is a really good deterrent for fraud.
Yep.
Do I think T-Mobile and AT&T should lock their phones for 2 or 3 years? Absolutely not. I think that's a joke.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a 20-year relationship with my carrier. If they told me anything of those sorts, including locking a phone, they can go to hell.
Yeah, this is why I always buy unlocked phones.
What I don't understand is okay, look, you're saying carrier lock prevents fraud, but I don't understand how, right? Like if let's just say I wanted to go up to AT&T, right? I go up to them, I open up an account under Dennis Smith, right? I open up an account, I get like a bunch of phones from them, and I just decide not to pay or anything. I give them all fake info, and I get the phones. What is locking the phone going to do for me, like going on and selling those phones to somewhere else and then using some other third party and then letting someone else use some third party service to get those devices unlocked? Like, because those things exist. Like,
Well, I mean, it doesn't eliminate fraud.
But I mean, it certainly reduces it. It deters it. I mean, it's you have to do something. I mean, you have to do so. Doing nothing, it makes it even worse. At the end of the day, you want to try to prevent it. Not, it doesn't mean it's going to eliminate it all. And of course, there's a workaround for it. Then there's a workaround for everything.
What I'm saying is that method punishes more, to Sneed's point, punishes more innocent customers, right? Trustworthy customers. It punishes them more than it does as far as a deterrent mechanism versus some other methods, right? Like if requiring social, right, is like a mandatory thing, which it already is, like that, let's just say that helps reduce it by like 50%, right? And then getting like name and valid address and maybe two documents, like whenever you open up like with a utility company, you got to provide 2 documents providing like as verification of proof of your address, of your current address, right? Those are additional methods that you can use to verify someone, right? Like you can touch on a lot of different things when opening up that account that aren't locking the phone itself, right? And you can, like I said, you can blacklist the phone afterwards too. You can blacklist the IMEI, and now that phone is truly a paperweight because now it's blacklisted. It can't be active.
Yeah, but that's not a prevention method. That's not a prevention method though. Like blacklisting the phone happens after someone reports it, but it's already gone at that point.
Yeah, but if it's blacklisted, now you can't really now it dramatically loses its resale value, right? You can't.
That's true. That's true. But the carrier loses out on that phone, that inventory. Like that's what.
But if it loses its resale value, right, which is the reason why people are committing the fraud to make money, right? If it loses its monetary value, well, now it's not worth the effort.
But it's not a prevention method, though, Dennis. Like that's a reaction. It's not a prevention.
Well, the other stuff I talked about is prevention, right? Social, ensuring name, get proof of like 2 utility bills, the address, the proof of address, valid copy of license. Maybe you make it so that it's in-store only when you open up the account. I mean, you could do a lot of things, right?
Like, I mean, the carriers already require a social. They already require a driver's license, all those types of things, and people were still committing fraud. So those things you could argue weren't working, at least not to the liking of the carriers. I don't know what to say, guys. I don't know. I mean, maybe we should all start our own companies. I don't know. But
let me play devil's advocate here. So T-Mobile and AT&T have had massive growth regardless of their lock policies for the last year and a half. So clearly the consumer doesn't care.
Nope. Still add lines. Don't care.
The average consumer doesn't care to switch their carrier, period.
So we're talking about a very small subset of the consumer base that cares about the locking policy. And if that consumer is savvy enough and cares enough about the locking policy, they're probably going to look for a carrier that has the most lenient lock policy, which would be Verizon.
60 days. It is not unreasonable at all.
60 days, not 3 years.
60 days. Very unreasonable. You don't even have to call in to do it. It automatically does. I mean, gosh, we're just nitpicking at this point.
Yeah, nitpicking, man. I understand, Sneed, I understand where you're coming from. I get it. It's frustrating. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't impact that many people. And it deters more than... the deterrent itself is more valuable than the uproar you would see from a very small subset of your consumer base.
Yeah, that's why I just put it up on the Verizon and get a phone.
Mm-hmm. And if you care enough, go buy it from the manufacturer.
Yep.
Sneed, it looked like you had another article that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, man. You ready? Verizon fell for fake search warrant and gave victims' phone data to stalker. Verizon was tricked by a fake cop.
Whoops.
Fake search warrant despite obvious warning signs. Verizon gave a female victim's address, phone logs to an alleged stalker who pretended to be a police officer, according to an affidavit filed by an FBI special agent. The man, Robert Michael Glauner, was later arrested near the victim's home and found to be carrying a knife at the time, according to the affidavit submitted in court yesterday. The assailant, or whomever he is, traveled from New Mexico to North Carolina, finding out where she lived. Before arriving, sent a threatening message saying, "If I can't have you, no one can." Oh my God. This is a stalker story. An email to Verizon from Steven1996C at proton.me. Right there, you know it's a fake. This is all fake. People that use Proton are literally trying to conceal their identity. Here is the PDF file for search warrant. We are in need of the cell phone data. Okay, so they got the cell phone data, and then North Carolina Police Department gave it to them, I guess. Or what is that? The caller stated that the person involved changed their phone number. Oh, I see what they did. Okay. And Verizon ended up giving the address and the phone logs in this whole thing. So that's bad. That's really bad.
Clearly,
Sounds like a
I
few
had a
people
locked
are getting
phone.
I don't understand. How's that not on the police department?
Verizon fell for the fake search warrant.
So how's that? I mean, so what did the police department have to do with that? I don't understand. Maybe I need to read the article myself. I don't understand.
There was a person acting as a fake cop, and Verizon fell for it.
I mean, I see the article name, but you were reading something about the police department or something like that. Like what?
Yeah, it's a fake affidavit written by a fake detective, Stephen Cooper, from a fake North Carolina Police Department identity.
Okay, gotcha.
So, like, he was pretending to be someone from that police department.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
This is a oversight. I mean, if you're getting an email address or an email from someone that's not official, like someone screwed up.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how the hell
How
did you not see a proton.me
I know, right?
and then say, all right, this person is like
Yeah.
playing games here?
It's supposed to be a police email address, not proton.me.
That's crazy.
Well, I'm hoping it's not just an email that's required in order to get something like that. I mean, you're hoping that it actually has to be something more official than just an email.
Yo, dude showed up with a knife at the crib, bro. Have across the whole country.
Dang.
Talking if I can't have you, nobody can. What?
Yeah, bro, people are creepy.
If I can't have you, no one can.
My goodness, it's like something out of the movies, bro.
Well,
yeah, it's literally like a horror movie.
that good old OSI model. One of the biggest security threats is people.
Yeah, but my question is the email that was sent, right? Like, Verizon doesn't offer email-based support, like, at all, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
Yeah,
Maybe
like,
they
so
brought
where
it up
did
to corporate.
Yeah, but so like, where did it go? That's my question. Like that's, I guess, corporate, but like, why would corporate be handling this?
I'm gonna call and be like, "Yo, this is Gilgamesh from the Gates of Ishtar. I need an address for Bartholomew R. Montague. I need all the call logs. I need the address."
So this guy went as far as to forge the judge's signature. That's crazy.
Yeah, for the did it all, bro.
Was he arrested?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How much jail time?
I don't know, man.
It's gotta be
I
at
mean,
least 15.
it looks like they apprehended him before he could do anything.
Yeah, but you got him on a bunch of felony charges already. I mean, it's going to be probably at least 15 years.
Right.
Hmm?
I definitely want to watch that case when it happens, if it hasn't already happened.
But yeah, I'm surprised that I'm surprised whoever it was at Verizon that fell for this. I'm surprised because I know for a fact that Verizon is probably like other telco companies. Like I know that all telco companies take CP&I training very seriously. So I would whoever fell for this is probably, as Peter I think said, is probably not going to be keeping their job because that's a really big mess.
Also, I will say, damn, all that stuff he did. If he looks for a job in the future when he gets out, he may as well have a large face tattoo.
Oh shit.
I'm just envisioning some like boomer forwarding this on to someone, didn't check anything.
Yeah, I love someone how they changed all our names to chicken. That's beautiful.
That's crazy.
Whoever did that.
Yeah, was it Lowe's?
Shout out to wait, what B, why did you change your name? Cut that shit out, bro. Stop it.
Wait,
be more chicken. Come on, bro.
Need room for when you brought up
I did
Consumer
not change my
Protection
name.
Administration or whatever.
I did not change my name.
I'm
well, you're Be More Chicken now.
Who changed all our names?
Look, you got EM chicken, Sneed chicken, Be More chicken, Bearded chicken, Lowe's chicken, Dennis chicken, Zero chicken, and Max chicken.
Definitely no
That's
chicken
crazy.
for me.
Did you lock my ability to change it back?
Yo, I'm about to, if you even try to mess with my settings right now, you're out of here, bro.
These are my settings, Sneak.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yo, you're
Sneak.
Zero
When you
chicken.
brought up like the Consumer Protection Administration, it reminded me of this one video that they made a bunch of years ago about these TVs just falling on like mannequins of kids. I sent that in the private chat if you want to look at that.
Look, consumers don't need protections. Corporations should be able to do whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want. And we can't say shit about it or do shit about it.
All I know is US Cellular's the GOAT.
Okay. Nah, it's Union.
Yo, I gotta take us home, man, because we gotta end the stream. We're already 2 hours in. Big salute to the couple of super chats we got tonight. There was one from Southwest Ohio Speed Testing. Marcus joined as a new member. US Cellular is the GOAT, Marcus. We appreciate you supporting us, as well as Alex for his super chat. Thank you guys. Big shout out to all the patrons and the YouTube members for supporting productions here on the channel. We appreciate it. Everybody who likes and shares the content, comments on the videos, and enjoys consuming the content. I got a bunch of new videos coming out. I got so much that I got to put out, and it's going to be a busy December, right? And even kind of going into the new year, we'll still be busy. There's a lot to do, and I'm really trying to find some time over Christmas break to do some speed testing live streams across different high capacity areas in the city. And I got some cool videos I want to do too. So
And getting Culver's.
And I got to go to Culver's on live stream and buy cheese curds.
And you gotta
Right.
see me in Pittsburgh again.
Culver's are right.
I got to make it out to Pittsburgh too. So yeah, we got
You
shit
gotta make
to
out to
do,
Wisconsin as well. Meet
I got to
me
come out
in
to where you from, bro? Is it Kenosha?
No, he way up there.
Ah,
Way
that's
up. I
Latrell.
gotta go way up. Oh damn! All right,
Yeah, you gotta go northeast area.
All right, man. So I got some stops to make. I still got to get out to Vegas. I don't know when that's gonna happen. I got to get to Modesto and try this calling network that Zero Cool's done.
Yeah.
Maybe get to Vegas around August when they got the all wireless prepaid expo. Meet up with Jeff.
You know what I'm gonna do, bro? Wherever they got more chicken, that's where I'm gonna go. All right, guys, we out this piece. Peace.
Yeah, peace.